Imagine being locked in a tiny room, completely naked, with no food, no clothes, no human interaction, and the only way to survive is to win a lottery. Sounds insane, right? But this isn't fiction. This actually happened in Japan, and it's one of the most disturbing true stories ever filmed. Meet Nasubi, a struggling stand-up comedian with dreams of fame and success. Little did he know, winning a lottery for a TV show would trap him in a nightmare that lasted over 300 days. Before the show, Nasubi was just like any aspiring comedian, performing in small clubs, cracking jokes, dreaming of making it big. He wasn't famous, he wasn't rich, just someone with a passion for comedy and a dream for recognition. One day, he won a lottery that promised a chance to appear on national television. He thought this was his big break, but what awaited him was far from what he imagined. The show was called Susunu, Denpa Shonen, which roughly translates to the life of prizes. The concept seemed simple, almost playful. Nasubi had to live in a small apartment, winning prizes from sweepstakes to survive. But there was a horrifying catch. Everything he needed, clothes, food, even basic survival tools, had to come from these lottery prizes. And until he accumulated 1 million yen in prize value, he could not leave the apartment. There was no escape. At first, the setup might seem like a quirky game, maybe even funny, but within days, the reality became terrifying. Nasubi started with nothing. No clothes, no food. His first prize? Fiber jelly. Edible, but almost tasteless. He couldn't cook it properly because he had no utensils. Days passed, weeks passed, and the isolation began to crush him. No sunlight, no conversation, only cameras and a nation watching his every move. Imagine surviving on raw rice for days, trying to figure out how to cook it with nothing but a makeshift container and a tiny stove. Picture the frustration, the loneliness, and the desperation. He even talked to a small stuffed toy, his only companion for months. He rotated it, held conversations with it, and it became a lifeline for his sanity. This is the human mind under extreme isolation, a desperate attempt to connect, even with an inanimate object. Every prize he won seemed like hope, but almost every prize came with a twist. Raw ingredients he couldn't cook, clothing too small to wear, even a PlayStation that was useless without a TV. Each tiny victory was bittersweet. He learned to improvise, cooking rice in fiber jelly containers over the flame, hanging a bicycle inside the apartment just to exercise, and slowly mastering the art of survival with nothing. Months passed, and Nasubi's mental state started deteriorating. Social skills vanished. Communication became hard, and even the simplest tasks felt impossible without guidance or interaction. After 6 months, he finally received toothpaste and a toothbrush. Simple things we take for granted became monumental victories. His body and mind were breaking down. The show's producers weren't monitoring his mental health. They only ensured he stayed alive. Nasubi was no longer just a contestant. He had become an object for entertainment, stripped of dignity, humanity, and choice. After 335 days, Nasubi finally reached the 1 million yen threshold. He was blindfolded and escorted to a massive auditorium. When the blindfold was removed, thousands of spectators stared at him, naked, alone, and completely exhausted. Imagine the sensory overload, the fear, the shock. After almost a year of isolation, this was his first exposure to human crowds, lights, and noise. It was a triumph, yes, but also a traumatizing ordeal. Even after leaving the show, Nasubi faced months of adjustment. Clothes felt strange on his body. Social interaction was overwhelming. Simple conversations were exhausting. His mental health had been severely impacted. What was promised as a path to fame became a harrowing human experiment. This story raises serious questions about entertainment, ethics, and human resilience. How far should producers go for ratings? How much suffering is justified for a show's success? Nasubi's experience is a reminder of the human cost behind so-called reality TV. One man's dream was exploited for profit. His life, his sanity, and his dignity were used as entertainment. And while millions watched, few thought about the consequences for him. So the next time you binge a reality show, remember, behind the laughs, the drama, and the suspense, there may be a story of real struggle, endurance, and tragedy, far beyond anything on screen. If you found this story shocking, disturbing, or eye-opening, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more unbelievable true stories.